Well, welcome back to Live Journey Production Studios. I am Keith, and this is going to be a basic Atem Mini Pro tutorial. Obviously, this would apply to the Atem Mini with exception of a few things because it doesn't encode or record or stream directly from it, but you can use it as a webcam. The ISO, on the other hand, you can not only record the program out, which is what you're seeing right now, but you can also record each one of the isolated channels, and it comes out with an XML file when you're all done if you set it to do ISO recording. So we're going to begin by looking at the front of the Atem Mini and talk just a little bit about how the buttons are laid out. Then we're going to look at the control software as well as the multi-view, which is what you can display on a monitor if you hook a monitor up in the with the HDMI out of the back of the Atem Mini Pro. Not only can you multi-view out in the Pro and the Pro ISO, you can actually switch inputs, where in the Atem Mini, it does not have the multi-view option, so keep that in mind if you're deciding if you'd like to purchase an Atem Mini or a Pro or a Atem Mini Pro ISO. So they both will do multi-view, and they actually have encoding and streaming directly from them features. The other thing you can also do with the Atem Mini Pro and the Atem Mini Pro ISO is be able to stream directly to a streaming bridge, which is another device available by Blackmagic Design, and you can check that out by Googling Blackmagic Design streaming bridge. So let's go over to a different view and let's get started. What I have right now is my Atem Mini Pro. It is right here on my desk, and I'll lean in here a little bit. Right now I have button 1 live, and it's red. And then I have button 3, which these are HDMI inputs. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see them back here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can also see there is a extra HDMI out, and that's what you use for your monitor. So you want to monitor what's coming out of the Atem, then you can do that by hooking up a monitor to this, and you could use just a regular PC monitor. You could use whatever kind of monitor, but it is HDMI out. So again, input 1 is represented by the 1. That's right here. Input 2 by 2. That's right here. 3 and 4, and they're in there as well. So if you put in all 4 inputs into your Atem Mini Pro, then you'll have 4 things that you can bring on the screen. Plus you have a media player, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then some other things that you can do inside, like display color bars. You can put graphics on the screen, and there's other incredible things you can do with the Atem Mini Pro. Now, another feature that you have is a picture-in-picture feature. So we'll turn that on right now. So now you can see me in picture-in-picture, and that's just another item that you can bring on and off air by pushing this button right here. Now, I've set up this picture-in-picture just to be my iPhone, and it's I don't have a camera plugged into Atem Mini Pro right now, but I do have my Apple TV plugged in, and I'm streaming or casting my iPhone picture, and it's not that great a picture as you can see, but I wanted to demo that you also have the option to bring picture-in-picture in. Now, if I was to default to one of these buttons, you're going to see it automatically get way smaller because that's the default setting, and I can bring it on the screen to the right, to the bottom left, to the bottom right, and then I have to go in the control software if I want it any bigger than that, because these buttons are defaulting to these sizes and these positions, and then I can turn it off right here. So obviously right now you see 1 is red and 3 is green. This means this is live and this is almost live. So we'll bring on multi-view here. In this multi-view layout, you can see that the 1 is live, and it's in the box on the right on the top. And the green button, which is channel 3, is in preview mode, and that's got my desktop software, and that is the control software that I'm using right now. Now, if I was to grab my mouse, I could actually show you, pull this out of the way, and you'll see it's actually my desktop, because I wanted you to see the software, and that runs off of the desktop. So then right here you have the control software, and we will bring that here full screen in a little bit, and we'll talk about the settings in there. But I wanted you to see how these buttons work. So when you're set to preview program mode, whatever you have ready to go live is going to be in the box on the left, and everything you have live is going to be a box on the right. And then if you are broadcasting or using your Atem Mini as a webcam, you would be broadcasting that then to whoever you're on the Zoom call with. Or if you're using a Pro or a Pro ISO and you're actually broadcasting from it, it would be encoding and sending out to whatever streaming platform you're streaming to, whatever is on the right-hand section. So as I hit the auto button right here, and let's go full screen again so you guys can see that auto button in a second, but I'm just going to hit the auto button right now. You're going to watch it change from camera 1 to camera 3, and it's going to do a dissolve. So here we go, auto. And you can see the bar going up and down, and it's going from preview mode to program mode. Now, the control software is live, and the Atem Mini Pro is not live. So we'll go back here again. So obviously, if you're in preview program mode, you have to hit the cut button to cut directly, but you can go inside the control software and set it up so that whatever button you push, it would automatically cut to. So if I hit button 3, it would cut. It would not do an auto transition, or I can just keep it like this and hit cut. So if I just wanted to go between channel 1 and channel 3, I can do cut. But if I'm using this like a matrix like I am right now to bring other things into my live stream, I like cut bus, so whatever button I push is live, and then I can decide if that's going to be live in my show. So again, 1 is live because it's red, 3 is preview, and you can see those represented here on the screen, preview top left and program top right. Now let's also talk about the other boxes in the multi-view. If I go like this, you can see me only in that bottom mid right box, and that is channel 4, this channel right here. If I cut to it, it's going to go green, and now you see channel 4 is in the preview mode. And then if I hit the auto transition button, it's now live. And now I'm switching between the Atem Mini over here and this picture on the bottom right-hand side. And you can see it's very washed out. Get a little bit better picture. It's still kind of whacked, but that's just using my iPhone casting. So then we'll cut back to my PC desktop on the left and camera 3 on the right. So we'll go transition all the way. Then we'll cut to channel 3. And now you can see we're switching between my desktop again and the view of the Atem Mini Pro. So back to that with this layout. So again, button 1 is this HDMI input. Button 2 is this HDMI input. Button 3 is this HDMI input. Button 4 is this HDMI input. And then this goes out to a monitor so that you can see the display and be able to make these choices and make these cuts together. So again, if you had a monitor all set up, you would be seeing this multi-view right here, but you also have the ability on the front of the Atem to change what you see. So instead of seeing multi-view, I could see only what's in input 1 or input 2 or input 3 or input 4. I can see multi-view, or I can just see what's program. So program right now would be the same as button number 1 because it's camera 1. So again, multi-view shows you that the bottom right here in this row, that first box is input number 1. The next box over is input number 2. And the next box over is 3 and 4. And again, they're represented right on the front of the Atem, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see that 1 is in the top box over there on the program, and 2 is not live. It's my HyperDeck, and 3 is right here in preview. Now, if I don't want this in preview and I want to get ready to cut to what's in my HyperDeck, then I can just hit button number 2, and now what's in my HyperDeck is ready to go, and I can play this because my HyperDeck plays videos, and now you can see that that's animated, and we'll talk about hooking up a HyperDeck later. So let's just pause that. So again, I don't want that up there. I want to have channel 3 ready to go live, and now I can use the auto button and switch between what's live and do a transition, or I can do a hard cut. between the two of them. So transition with the auto button and cut with that button. Now this button right here is fade to black. So if I hit that, the program up there fades to black. There's nothing live and it's flashing to let you know that you have fade to black on. So we'll hit it again and it'll fade back in what is in the program. So that would be at the end of the show or at the beginning of the show. If you wanted to fade up from black, then you could fade up from black. Now I can bring that full screen like this. And now you can see that I can hit the button again and fade in, or hit the button again and fade out, because you're now looking at what would be in the program view. Let's switch back to multi-view and then we'll fade it again. I'll push the button again and we'll fade it out from black. So right here you can see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, which is these 4 channels that you can put on the screen full screen in your program. Or you can do multi-view, and this layout is cropped, but you're going to see that's multi-view. If I go back to program, you can choose 1, you can choose 2, you can choose 3, and you can choose 4. You can, of course, choose multi-view. Again, I have it cropped, and we'll talk about that later. Or you can choose program, and program is cropped, and it's showing you that image right there. So you have the ability to change what's coming out of this HDMI output. So you can see multi-view, you can see whatever camera, if you want to adjust the focus on camera 1 or camera 2 or camera 3 or camera 4, you can bring them full screen. So I could bring camera 1 full screen, which is my Atem Mini Pro, which is my Canon 5D Mark III. And if I switch to this layout, you can see that's the full image of my Atem Mini Pro, and that camera's live. I can now switch over to camera 2 by hitting these buttons, 3 or 4. And again, that can be seen when you are in this view. So you can see that I've pushed these buttons and they switch between those views. So on this HDMI out, you have what I call a matrix, and you can choose between input 1, input 2, input 3, input 4, multi-view, or whatever you want to be in your program, which is represented like this. Program is in the top box there on the far right, and that again is what would go live, or that's what people would be seeing in your webcam out. Now let's talk about that in your Atem. Switch back over here. In your Atem, you have an HDMI or USB-C out and a CAT cable, and then power. So the power is hooked up, and you have to power the Atem Mini Pro. You have Ethernet port, and that would be plugged into your switch so that your PC or Macintosh can communicate with the Atem, and you can use the control software, and we're going to look more in the control software here in a minute. And then you obviously would have a monitor hookup. But if you have your USB-C hooked up, you can either hook it up to a hard drive like this and record what you have going out in your program, and you would record by pushing the record button. You would go on air by pushing the on air button, and then you also have the ability to turn your upstream key on, and you have your picture-in-picture buttons. And then we'll look at these other buttons as well. On the front of the Atem, you have mic 1 and mic 2, and you have the ability to do a microphone in the back of your Atem. Actually, you could have 2 microphones. It could be you and a guest. So let's say you have a Rode Wireless Go, you could plug those in the back of there and be able to use those with your live stream. Or you can bring a input in 3.5 stereo input from your console, and then you could mix all your audio live like I do in my studio from the Rodecaster Pro. So again, 2 mic inputs, and you can turn those mics on and off right here. So on, off, and you can raise the volume up or down. This is up, this is down. Channel 2, up and down, and they're marked mic 1 and mic 2. And you can actually do a line input volume, like if you're going to come directly from a line input in a like a direct box, or you can use a mic input, which would be like if you hooked a lapel or something in it, and it adjusts the gain so that you're getting the right levels when you're doing that. And you can do that inside the setup software, and we'll look at that later. Okay, so key on. Next to that is recording. So if I have an SSD drive hooked up, you can record to it, and then on air, and then below that is stop recording. Below that on air button is off. So again, those buttons, and then these buttons right here are the kind of transitions you're using. So let's say I want to go to one of these different transitions, and now I hit this transition button. Watch the screen. It does a different kind of wipe. So I can go to this kind of wipe. I can go to this kind of wipe. I can go to this kind of wipe. I also can set the speed, and this is the duration. So let's say I want the transition longer. Let's go 2 seconds. It defaults to 1 second. Hit that transition. And now you can see it takes 2 seconds for that transition to take place. And the default is mix, and mix is just a nice smooth transition, but now it's taking 2 seconds. I can go a half a second, be very fast. I can go 1 second, which is the default, or 1.5 seconds, or 1 second, which is the default. And so I have these different transitions right on the front of my Atem Mini, and that's pretty exciting as well. Now, the only buttons left that haven't been covered are these buttons right here. And that's very interesting because if you had a camera with a microphone hooked up on, or a PC plugged in to channel 2 input, so I have my PC plugged into channel 3, and if I wanted to play a video from my PC, I would have to turn channel 3 audio on. So I would do it right there on that button. So let me switch back to this view so you can see that. So I would turn it on right here. If I wanted it on, if I wanted it to follow the video. So what does that mean? If I cut to that channel, audio's on, or if I cut away, it's not. So right now, if I was to cut to channel 3 with this on, I'm going to have audio on either one of these channels. So whatever's coming in on channel 3 is going to play regardless of what I cut to. But if I change this to audio follows video right there, and then I was to change channels, and right now channel 3 is not live, it's ready to go live. This channel 1 is live. So if I wanted this channel to be a video and I wanted to play with audio, I have it set to do that. Now watch what happens when I switch to that channel. It goes live, and you can't see that unless we're in multi-view, and now you can see that that channel is live, and as I switch back and forth, you're going to watch it go on and off. Now it's off right there, and you can see it, and now it's on. And I know I'm switching sides of the screen, but I want you to see that if I have audio follow video set, the audio is going to be on when it's red and live. It's going to be off when it's green. And see, now it's off. I also have the ability to reset it in case I raised or lower the volume, and I can raise and lower the volume for that single channel right here. And so now I have the ability to control audio coming from cameras. So let's say I had a video coming from a different camera and I wanted to move over there and talk. I could have that audio come on only when I'm moving over there to talk. And that's a great feature. So if I had my microphone on channel 1, I could have that set to audio follow video, and the audio went live. It's red right now. And so if I wanted the audio to follow that camera only and the audio to follow this camera, now as I switch, those audios are turning on. So now I could go from this camera to another camera or another part of the room, and I know that microphone is going to be on when I get there, or anytime I cut to that camera, that audio would be live. So again, that audio follow video is set by the front panel, and then you have audio volume set. So I don't have these on, so there's an off button for that one, and there's an off button for that one, and I want all of these off because I'm bringing audio in through my extreme ISO. So you have inputs to come in the back of the Atem. You can also come in to through your cameras or your PC. So if you can feed audio into whatever the input is, then you can actually bring that audio on the air as well. So now let's cut over to the control software right now. So we'll go to Program View, and here is the control software. So let's do a little research here in the control software. You can see that when I'm in preview, program mode, preview is down here. So if I compare that to the Atem, I have this button green, and that is depicted right here on the bottom right, and that's in that top right-hand box. And again, I have channel 3 red, and the live buttons are on the top when you get in the control software, and the preview buttons are on the bottom. I'm going to hit the auto button right here on the front of the Atem. And you're going to watch on the control software up here, you're going to watch the bar is going to go up and down, and we're going to switch from preview down here, green, which is channel 3, or from 1, which is live, which is the camera facing down on my Atem, which is the only camera I have hooked up in channel 1, and it's going to change over to the preview, which is channel 3, by hitting the auto button. So here we go. Now you can see the bar moved up and down, and now you have more of a traditional transition bar, even though it's only in the software. So whatever's in the top row is live, and whatever's in the bottom row is green is ready to go live. And you can see right now I have my Atem Mini Pro camera shooting down at my desk. It's in preview mode, getting ready to go live. But what if I don't want that? What if I want my other camera, which is my Apple TV, casting my iPhone? What if I want that in preview? Now you can see in the software over here that the last input is green, right? And I'm still live on my desktop. So let's make a transition and watch what happens. So now this crazy camera view is live in the right-hand box, and my desktop software is now in the preview. Well, what if I don't want my desktop software in the preview? I want camera 1 again, which is facing down on my desk. Now you can see it is green, and over in the control software, which is now in that bottom right-hand screen in the second row, second to the last, you can still see the software. If I hit transition, now I switch to that. We're going to bring my desktop back into play right here so you can see it bigger. And now again, whatever is in the bottom row is green, and whatever's in the top row is red, because that's the way we have things laid out. So again, so let's switch so you can see the software. So again, top row, live, bottom row, preview, program on the top, preview on the bottom. Now, in the preview row, you have some other features, right? It's not just these channels. And if you have an Atem Mini Pro, you'll have 4 inputs. If you have an Extreme or an Extreme ISO, you're going to have 8. So this one would be lit up. So would the other 3. And then you would also have a black. So if I go to black, that makes the screen black. So we can fade to black, or we can go to black. So again, back to the control software and the fade to black button. When you're inside the control software, that fade to black button is all the way over here, because fade to black is after your transition bar. And that transition bar, I can grab it with my mouse, hold my mouse down, and I can pull that up and do a manual transition as slow as I want to go, right? Or I can go down here into the transition time, like I have on the front of my Atem Mini. On the front of my Atem Mini, I only have so many buttons that I can do that with. And again, if we make a transition here, you can see that I have the ability to do half a second, 1 second, a second and a half, and 2 seconds. But if I go into the control software, I could do a 8-second transition right here. Let's change that to 8, enter. And now watch what happens when I hit the auto button. And again, remember, on the front of your Atem, right, there is see how slow we're going? 8-second transition. On the front of your Atem, right, your auto button is right here. Your cut button is right here. But as we do an 8-second transition back to the control software, or channel 3 on my Atem Mini Pro, and you can see now channel 3 is now green or red in the top row, and my desktop camera on my Atem is green. But way over in this row on the bottom, and I'll hit it with my mouse right here, you have your cut and your auto button right here. Also, previous transition, if you just wanted to go back to a previous transition you used. And so if you want to make that long transition, you would hit this button here. But for the sake of time, let's default this back to 1 second. And I just hit my button on the front of my Atem. You can see it changed to 1 second right here. And now let's hit auto transition, and it makes a 1 second transition. Let's hit cut, and it's immediate, a cut. Just like the front of the Atem, it's an immediate cut if you hit cut inside the software, which is right here. And then right here, you have different types of transitions. And remember, when I hit the buttons on the front of the Atem right here, and I could change the type of transition. I can hit a transition now, and it does this kind of transition. I can hit this button, it does an up and down transition, and that button's right here. If I hit this button, it's going to do this type of transition, kind of a stretch. And if I hit this button right here, it's going to do that kind of transition, and then I can go back to a regular mix transition. Those are found right here. You have dip and you have mix right here. So if I wanted to switch inside the control software, I would adjust those right here. And then the settings for these are actually found over in this column, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Okay, so let's move on. Also in the live, you have the ability not only to go black, but you can do a color. That's the color white, right? Let's go back to this other view here. There we go. So up here, you have the ability to do different colors, and we'll use multi-view so you can see these happening. So if I hit color 1, which is right up here, you can see it in the smaller screen. Color 1 goes to color that. If I hit the next button, which is color 2, it's going to go to that. And again, those color buttons are right up here. And then you also have bars right here. So we're going to go to color bars. And again, that's happening right here. And you can still see what I'm doing in the third box in this row. And I'll do my mouse. And so not only can you do colors, you can also do what's in Media Player 1. And we'll talk about where you find what's in your media player here in just a minute. So you have black right here, color 1 right here, color 2 right here, and you can make them live. If you want to transition to them, you can actually choose them instead of a camera. So now if I was to do the transition bar, hit auto right here, or pull the bar down, I'm going to go from live camera 3, right, which is my desktop software, which you're seeing in this window. It's going to cut to color 1, which is pure white. So this is what happens when I pull the bar down. We cut to white, and we cut back again. And if I switch over here to multi-view, you can see that I've got my desktop here in the top in preview mode, and over there in program live mode is my white color. And then right here, you can also see I have color 2. And if I hit color 2, it's going to go live in that box. If I hit bars, it's going to go live in that box. But if I wanted to cut from my desktop, so let's go back to my desktop, to the bars, I'll make the bars live down here on the bottom in the lower section, which is preview. And I'll make the desktop live, which is up here in the top row. And now if I pull the bar up and make a transition, it's going from my desktop to the color bars. Or I can just hit the cut button on the bottom, and it cuts automatically. And if I don't want to pull the bar up and down, I can hit the auto button. I can also hit the auto button on the front of my Atem. There you go. It's in the first box. I can hit the auto button here on the front of the Atem, and that's represented right here in that box. There's my finger. I'll hit auto, and it makes a transition. If I hit cut, it's a hard transition. So again, soft transition, hard cut transition, and then we'll cut back to camera 3 in preview. And now we have the desktop in the program, and I can cut back to my desktop. Again, so that's kind of a layout of those buttons on the front of the Atem. So again, everything on top is live. So whatever I click on is going to go live, and everything on the bottom is in preview. And so I have the ability to set black as a preview input, and I can transition from what's on the top to the bottom with the transition bar. I can make color 1 in preview. I can make color 2 in preview, and we're going to watch those right now. I can make bars in preview. I can make what's in MP1 in preview, and right now it's my logo, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So color 1 can be in preview, which is white. Color 2, which is yellow. Black can be in preview. Channel 1 can be in preview, and all of that's happening right down here in the lower section, and it's only changing what's in box one here on the top left, which is preview, and I'm the only person that can see that normally when I'm mixing my show. Everybody else sees what's in the top right-hand box, which is live. And now if I want to make my HyperDeck live, hit play. So that is scrolling. And now if I hit the auto button on the front of my deck, then I've made my HyperDeck live, and everybody could see that if I was on a Zoom call or if I was streaming this live on one of the channels. Again, and that's represented right here. Channel 2 is live on my Atem, and channel 3 is in preview mode, which is my desktop. And if I hit the auto button and switch back on the front of the Atem, it switches back, or I can actually hit the auto button on the front of my software, and now it's back again. Don't want fade to black. Hit the front of the button on the Atem right here, and I have channel 1, which is my downward camera live, and I have channel 3 ready to go live, and I can hit the auto button and transition that way. Or I can come over here and pull down the bar and transition between channel 3 up here and channel 1 down here. Or I can hit the auto button right here, or I can hit the cut button right here, and it does a hard cut. In the bottom down here of your control software, you have the switcher panel, you have the media pool panel, you have the audio panel, and here's where all the audio channels is. Here's channel 1, that's HDMI 1. So if I cut back to here, channel 1 right here is this HDMI input, and if I cut back to the audio inputs, that's represented right here. If I cut back again, channel 2 and these audio buttons right here are represented right here. And then if I cut back again one more time, channel 3, again, these buttons right here, they're represented right here in this row. So channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and again, channel 4, which is this input right here, it is represented with channel 4. Then you have two other inputs, and they're mic 1 and mic 2. And remember those? Mic 1 and mic 2 are right here. So I have mic 1 and mic 2, and those two inputs are right here in the back of the Atem Mini Pro. And that's the same with the Mini and the Mini Pro ISO. Those inputs are right back here, and there's two of them. And again, they can be controlled right here. Now, you have effects that you can add to those. So if I click right here, it opens up effects right below channel 1. Channel 2 is the same thing. If I click right there, it opens up effects. Same with channel 3. If I click right here, it opens up effects. Now, this top row all the way across is equalizer. And we're not going to go into how to set an equalizer right now, but that's what it is. And then below that is another box on every input channel, and that is some other effects. And there's actually 4 effects. You have a expander, you have a gate, a compressor, and you have a limiter, and you can close them with this little X on the top left. And so each one of these boxes represents another set of effects. So channel 4, which is HDMI input number 4, I can set effects right here for that. But I can also set those effects for my mic input. So here is mic 1, here is mic 2. I can set a equalizer, which I have an EQ on right now. I can also set other effects, and right now you can see I have a limiter turned on. It's blue. So whatever I hit the button on, it turns on down here, and I can make adjustments appropriately. I don't want my gate or my expander or my compressor on, only my limiter. So again, I can close this, and I have access to all of these effects, equalizers all the way across the top, and I have these other effects on the bottom right here. Now, when you get over to the master, which is any one of these that you have turned on are going to come out the stereo master. That's what goes live. You can see right now that master is live, so it's telling you that you're live and there's audio going out. And you also have an equalizer here that you can turn on, and then you can also turn on the effects and affect that last input, which is a mixture of all those channels. So if you had audio coming in channel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or 4, plus mic 1 and mic 2, that would all be represented right here. And then down here, you have the ability to pan those left and right. So if you had a stereo input coming into camera 1 or HDMI input 1, which would be represented right here, you could pan it left to right. So if you had stereo speakers, you could move all the audio to the left, all the audio to the right, which is really effective if you had a guitar player in channel 1 with a camera on him and a mic on him, and you had a bass player in channel 2 and a mic on him, and then go on down the line and you had 4 guys playing, then you could use the pan to put those guys wherever you wanted to, and then they would all play out right here in the master. And you could also have then a vocal mic on the singer or the 2 singers, and they could be separately affected by these channels right here. So the Atem Mini, the Atem Mini Pro, and the Atem Mini Pro ISO are pretty effective because you could literally have 4, 5, 6 different microphones. You could have 4 microphones plugged into cameras and bring those into channel 1 through 4. And then you could use mic input number 1 and mic input number 2 to bring 2 more microphones in. Like, for instance, you could bring in a soloist and a backup singer. So let's talk about that again. So on the front of the Atem, in this layout on the front of the Atem, I can turn these microphones on and off by these channels right here, and mic 1 and 2 right here. I have audio follow video, and let's cut to a bigger view of this by doing this and this. So I can turn mic 1 on and off mic 2, channel 1 on right here or off. I can make audio follow video all the way down the line. I can adjust those channels. But when I get into this software, how do I turn those channels on and hit audio follow video? And that's found right here. Here is on the bottom of channel 1. And next to that is audio follow video, right? There is no headphone jack on the Atem Mini, Atem Mini Pro, Atem Mini Pro ISO. So you cannot use the headphone feature here on the bottom. But when you get to an Atem Mini Extreme or an Atem Mini Extreme ISO or some of the other decks by Blackmagic Design or rack mounts or desktop Atems, you do have a headphone input. So that's one reason you may want to get a Extreme or Extreme ISO, because you want to be able to listen to the audio and monitor it and make sure it sounds really good. Now, you could listen to the audio on your camera if it has a headphone out, but there is no headphone output on the Atem. So there's no way to plug headphones in. So again, you can't turn those on and solo one of those channels. But if you did have a headphone output in an Atem Extreme, then I could solo each one of these inputs in my headphones to see if I liked the levels. So then over here, you have the ability to go minimum, maximum on your audio for your headphones. Again, it's not available, but I can turn audio follow video on my master gain. I'm not sure why you do that, but I can turn that on right here. And it's on by default when these channels are on. Mic 1 has just an on. Mic 2 has just an on, so you turn those on right here. There is not a audio follow video on mic 1 because there's no video in your microphone inputs. And to make that a little easier to understand, these 2 mic inputs in the back, which are 3.5 stereo inputs, they do not have a HDMI plugged into them. So they're audio only. And again, that would be then represented in the software by a audio on or off. On is lit up, and you can see it go red up here, and off is a click again, and they go off up here. Right here on the bottom, I have channel 1. I can turn it on, off, audio follow video. Channel 3, I can go on, off, or audio follow video. And now as I make a transition, watch what happens on the top column right up here. You're going to see them change as I make a transition. And I'll cut back to that again in multi-view so you can see them. So watch right up here as I make this transition. The top little section changes from yellow to red as I switch those channels. Again, that's because I have audio video set. Now, if I have them both set to on instead of audio follow video, watch what happens now when I make a transition between what's in the preview and way over there on the other side is the program. So let's hit auto on the front of the Atem. And in the audio settings, you can see they both are still lit up because they're both turned on. So that means that whatever was in camera 1 and whatever's in input 3, which is my desktop. If it's playing audio, they're both going to be playing over each other. So you may want to always use audio follow video when you're cutting between different channels. So we're going to do one more thing here. Let's go into multi-view and watch what happens to channel 1. Again, I'm going to switch back so you can see that closer. Camera 1 is right here. So watch what happens to this audio level as I change the front of the Atem. So here's the front of the Atem in the top box. I'm going to go over to channel 1, and you're going to watch the second box right above me right here. You're going to watch channel 1, which again is right here. If you can see my mouse going around it. Watch what happens when I bring this button up and down. That volume slider right here is going down, and that volume slider is going up. And then if I hit the reset button, it goes back to the normal settings. So if you get your channels mixed up and you want to fix them, the fastest way to do that is just hit reset for that channel on the front of your Atem. And again, that reset button is found right here. You have audio follow video, reset, on, off, up and down arrow. And again, if I go back to multi-view, channel 2 is now going up. Channel 3 is now going down. Channel 4 is now going up in the control software right up here. And now I want to hit reset, watch channel 1, hit reset on channel 2, hit reset on channel 3, hit reset on channel 4, and they are all reset to what their default is. And that just really helps us. Now let's move over to the media pool. Now you find the media pool down here on the bottom, and what the media pool is, imagine a file cabinet full of photographs or lower thirds, no videos, just still images, and you want to play those on the screen. Well, everything in that folder in that file cabinet is filed away until you bring one of those files out. So let's grab still image number 1 and let's drag it over to the player. I just pulled that photograph out of the file folder, set it on the desk so everybody can see it. Now, they can't see that yet because the file is closed, but it's out on the desk where everybody can see it. What and how do I get that on the air? So let's go back to the switcher right here on the bottom, and let's bring that on air. Right here is a media player button. I have a preview down here, just like I have black, color 1, color 2, and bars down here. I also have a live button up here. Remember, everything on the top I hit goes live. So I'm live on my desktop software. Again, now what happens if I hit Media Player 1? There's that picture. Whatever is in Media Player 1, when I turn it on in this top row, again, that's right here. I have my PC on live right now, but if we cut to multi-view, you can see now in that bottom box, that's my media player. So I have camera 1, 2, 3, and 4 going through this box. Right down there, it's what's in my media player. So what happens if I drag my lower thirds back into that box? Now you can see right down there, sorry, let's point, there it is. Right there is my logo. And if I go back into the media player again and drag back in that clip, there you go. Now, in that bottom box right there is that clip. It's not live because I would have to go back into my switcher and I would have to hit this button right here, Media Player 1, to make it live. And now it's live. I can also transition to it. So right now it is live and I have my PC desktop in program. So I'm going to go over here and hit the auto transition again right down here. Remember, that's what automatically moves the bar up. Whatever the time is right here, it's going to transition. So I'm going to hit auto, and now it's going to go from my desktop live now, and the picture is in the preview mode. If I don't want the picture in the preview mode, right down here, I can go back to, let's say I want my downward camera on my Atem in preview. So whatever I have down here too, I can put in preview mode, and whatever I have up here, I can make live. So the media player right here, you can fill up 20 pictures and it tells you 20 right here. That's 1, that's 20. And I can bring any of these pictures over and pull that file folder out and get it ready to go live. And then if I go back to the switcher and I turn on that media player, every one of these little pictures that I drop into my media player are going live as I drop them in, including my graphic, but that's not how you play a graphic. If you play a pre-multiplied graphic just by putting it on the screen, you're going to get a white box, which is everything that's clear, and you're going to get the logo. We'll bring these logos on by using the key feature later, but if you want to put a still image on the screen, the fastest way to do that is very simply take those, and you can see me doing it right here down in the media player. See it in that center row. I can bring these on the air by dropping each one of these pictures into this box, and they're live on the air right now. And then if I don't want them on the air anymore and I want to switch back, I can hit the audio button, and you know that we're going to switch to my Atem because it's right up there, ready to go live in the preview mode. And you can see it's green. So when I have it in preview, it's green, and when it's live, it's red. See that? Right there is green. There's a green outline, and right there it's red. Now watch what happens when I go up into this Atem and I hit the auto transition button. See my finger? Watch what happens to these two colors right here. When I hit the button, they're going to switch. See? Now the picture is green, ready to go live right up there. And over there is this picture, which is red, which is live. So red is live, just like on front of the Atem, and green is ready to go live. Now let's say I wanted my HyperDeck over there to be green and ready to go live. Let's then hit that button, which would be button 2. And now you can see right here that my Atem camera on my Atem on my desk is red, which is live. It's up there on the right. And now the second box over there has the green line. And now watch as I hit the auto button right here. They switch. Now the Atem camera is live, or green, ready to go live right there. And now the box next to it, which is input number 2 on my Atem, it is now live over there, and my HyperDeck is playing. And we'll talk about how to hook up a HyperDeck to your Atem Pro later. So again, that's how that happens, because we're using the control software, not the desktop, which we can do some things on the desktop as well. You guys are very much aware. So I want camera 3, my desktop, to be live. So I'm going to switch from camera 1 to camera 3 by hitting the auto button. And there you go. Now I have my software up here as well. So everything on the top, including your media player, can be live, and everything on the bottom, including your media player, can be in preview mode. Again, and you go down here to find out what you have ready to go in your media player. Now, there is another location we're going to look at that you can see what's ready to go live, but I like the picture version, and you can switch those right here. So audio is down here, your media pool is down here, and your switcher is down here. And then if you had Blackmagic design cameras, you could have them right here and control camera, color, and all of that through your Atem control software. I do not have Blackmagic cameras, so I'm not going to demo how this feature right there works, but that is found in the bottom folder right down here. You can see on the bottom of the screen down there. So 4 folders on the bottom of the screen down there. First one is Switcher, which is where we do all the switching, like the front of the Atem Mini Pro itself. Next to that is the media pool. So Switcher. Next to that is the media pool, so we'll click on that. And again, all of these are in the file cabinet. This one's out in the file folder on the desk, and I can make it live by opening up the media player, making it live, and turning it on the air. Again, right here by hitting that button, now it's live. And I can do preview mode and switch between it as well. So if I want to go from that picture of my desktop and my Atem Pro to the media player, I can hit auto now, and I'm switching back and forth between my media players. So the cool thing is I can switch cameras. I can also switch to the media player. And so if there was a still image you wanted to show for a few minutes, you could switch back and forth. Now, the layout I'm using right now is Super Source. It's not available in the Atem Mini or the Atem Mini Pro or the Atem Mini Pro ISO. It's only available inside the Atem Mini Extreme and the Extreme ISO and some of the other higher-end consoles by Blackmagic Design. So now we're back to this view, and I want to go back to the desktop to show you more of the software. So the next thing I want to show you is this section up here. Again, because everything here can be live, everything here can be in preview. You have your transitions right here. I want to talk about the keys. So keys right here and downstream keys right here. Up here is your upstream key. So let's click on the media pool and let's put my logo back over here in the player. So now my logo, which is a pre-multiplied key, is ready to display. And now let's go back into the switcher, right? And let's turn that on. Now it's only going to put on my DVE because that is switched right here. See, this is key number 1, which is represented by key number 1 right here. Key number 1, and it's in the palettes menu. You also have the ability to see your media player. Here's everything that's in that media player right here, all those still images. We'll talk about that later. You also have palettes and an output. This is where you would go to record and go live. But the palettes, you have a color generator. So here's where I set up color 1 white, color 2 yellow. And remember, you saw those go on the air when I hit these buttons over here, color 1, color 2. We'll go back to this layout again. So those are represented right here. If I didn't want color 1 to be white, let's just change color 1 right now. Let's go red, color 1, hit OK. And now color 1 is red. So I bring it on the air. Color 1 is red. Color 2 is yellow, and then back to my desktop. But in the palettes folder, that's where you have your upstream key, which is right here. And the reason it's called upstream is here's the transition bar, and it's on the left of that, which is upstream. Your downstream key, right, which is another key. It doesn't have as many options. It's right here. And those keys are found right here, upstream key. So if you don't want your color generator open, you can click it again, close it, click it again, open it. So upstream key, click it, close it, click it again, open it. Transitions. Remember, these are those transitions that are right here. You can go in and change the kind of mix right here, how long you want it to be. I can also change how long I want it to be right there. If I want to use the dip section, which is right down here, I can then use dip. So I can change different kind of dips. I can change from a color bars. I can even dip between cameras right here, which is for another video. So again, we're going to go to mix, wipe. Wipe is represented right here. Those are those wipes that we did on the front of the Atem, really crazy wipes right to left. And you can see there's only a few choices on the front of the Atem, but you have all of these choices in the wipe menu. And then you have your DVE. Your DVE is that little picture-in-picture we put on the screen. And that DVE can be controlled how it flies in and out on the screen, all right here. And that, again, is for another video. So mix is for mixing, and that's, again, transitions. And we'll cover transitions in a later video. Now, the downstream key is another key. And remember, I told you, you can bring your logo on the screen to your downstream key or your upstream key. So let's go ahead and change the input to my upstream key to my media player right here. And then the key, which is the background layer, that's going to be media player as well. And I don't want it masked, so I'm going to turn mask off. What that lets you do is crop it. So if I want to crop out a picture and only have a part of a picture on the screen, I'd use the mask to crop that out. I'm turning mask off. I'll turn pre-multiplied on, and we'll turn this key right here is the on button on the air. And you can see this is not a pre-multiplied key because it's all wacky looking. So we're going to go back in here and we're going to turn pre-multiplied off. Now I'll turn the key back on the air, and now it's just a logo. So if it was a pre-multiplied key, I would want to turn pre-multiplied on right here. If it's not a pre-multiplied key, I don't want to turn it on. I can still adjust the logo right here, the clip, and you can see the logo changing right there on the screen. And I can change the gain as well right here until I get that logo looking crisp and nice, and the background looking crisp and nice. And there you go. I can turn that key on and off the air right here. So I can have that logo on right here with my upstream key or my downstream key. So again, let's turn the downstream key off right here, and let's turn the upstream key on. There you go. That logo can come on either way. And so if we look at this, close the downstream key here, and let's open the upstream key, you can see that my upstream key is set to the first folder, which is Luma. That's where you would put lower third graphics on the screen. And again, I have pre-multiplied off. If I turn pre-multiplied on, I get that same crazy look. It doesn't matter which key, the upstream key, which is right here, upstream of the transition bar, or the downstream key right here. And if I put them both on the air at the same time, there's two logos. You just can't see them. I'll turn layer 1 off, and there's still a logo. If I turn layer 2 off and 1's on, there's still a logo. But if I turn them both off, they're gone, because that logo is identically placed in both keys. I could bring it on the air twice. Makes no sense unless there was some reason I wanted 2 on the air to demo them. So let's say I want you to see those on the air at the same time. You can see I have upstream key 1 on, upstream key 2 on. But in my upstream key, I have this ability to fly it around the screen or move it around the screen. So now you're going to see those 2 layers appear. I'm going to take the position of the flying key, which is on now, and I'm going to move it over. See that logo up there? Let's bring it full screen by going down here in the flying key and hit the full button. And see, it came right over to where the logo is normally. And now watch what happens when I go to the right. Now I have 2 on the air at the same time. So watch right this. Turn 1 on, the right one off, the right one goes away, back on again. Turn the downstream key off, the left one goes away. Again, so on the downstream key, I can't move it around the screen, but the upstream key I can, because that's also where you have a DVE and you can do some cool effects. I can actually fly this logo off the screen. So let's take the downstream key off, right? We have our upstream key on. So let's say I want this to be position B. So I'm going to hit set position B right here under flying key. Remember, flying key's on. I'm going to hit set position B. And now here's full over there. And then if I go to B right here, B is over there. Let's say I want A on the top left-hand corner. Let's move it up to the top left-hand corner. Let's move it over and up to the top. And now for kicks and giggles, let's go ahead and shrink it down a little bit and move it over even further. Now let's go down into the flying key and let's hit set A. There we go. So here's full. I hit the full button right here. Here's B. That's on the other side. And then here's A, clear up in the corner. And then if I want the logo in the normal place. So I can fly this around the screen. I have a choice between full position, which is right there, and 2 other locations on my screen that I can fly the logo around to using the flying key, which is another great feature here in the Atem control software. And that's true with an Extreme or an Extreme ISO. They have 4 upstream keys, and all 4 of those upstream keys have controls and the ability to do that. So that's the Luma feature, and that's for usually putting logos on the screen. So we'll turn that logo off because I already have my logo on in my Extreme, which is what you guys are watching this program on. So let's go back over here and talk about this next folder. So here we have those folders. There's Chroma, Pattern, and DVE as well, and Luma is where I bring my logos on and off the screen. But what's Chroma? Chroma is where you would do a green screen effect. So if I had an image with a green background, I could key out the background, and then I could just leave the image on the screen. Then I could lay that image on top of me. So a chroma key, once you take the green out, is very similar to a logo. This logo is transparent now because there's nothing else but the logo on the screen. So I'm laying it on top of the screen. Well, the same thing would happen if I had a green picture that I brought into the chroma key, and I'll show though and demo that in a different video. And then I brought it on the air. Right now it's just this logo. And if I put a picture in my media player, for instance, like this sunset, and then I bring that logo on the air, there's no green background, there's nothing keyed out. So I get the same full image because, again, it's not a chroma keyed green screen image, which would be a green background with a person or some object in the front, and you would take the green out and then display that graphic on the screen. So that's what this chroma layer is for. It's for bringing in a green screen. So if you were a new newscaster, if you wanted to do a newscast, you'd put a green screen behind you, you'd light it up, you'd light you separately, stand away from the green screen, put a camera on you, you would turn this on through your chroma key, and you would put it on the air just like I'm putting the logo on the air right now. And again, it's doing that because I'm in the chroma settings. If I go over here to Luma and put that key on the air, then the logo displays right. So it's really important for you to know what folder you're in, because if you're in Luma, your logo is going to look right. But if you were to switch over to chroma right now, right up here, that folder, it's not going to look right because it's a chroma folder and not a Luma folder. So pattern gives you the ability to control the patterns, and the patterns would be controlled down here as well as your DVE. And then you have your DVE controls, and this is where you control picture-in-picture. So you can see picture-in-picture now takes over the whole screen. If I turn the key off, it's gone, because anytime I go into picture-in-picture and I have my key on the air, then it's going to show my picture-in-picture full screen. If I turn it on by using the front of my Atem and hit the picture-in-picture button, then it's going to go on the air full screen. If I hit the little buttons on the left, left, and right, then it's going to default to those cropped versions of it that are preset inside the Atem control software. And the only way to change those now is right here. So let's put it on the top left, and then let's go ahead and change the settings. So I'm in my DVE settings, and if I want it bigger, I can make it bigger right here. And what I'm doing is I'm holding my mouse over the X and I'm scrolling left or right. I can also go on the up and down arrows, or I can put a number in here, and that's the X axis, which is bringing it up and down. I also have this X axis, which is going to go left and right. I have this one, which is up and down. And then I have the Y axis, which also brings it in and out, but it's also going to transition whichever way I have the transition set as well. And those transitions set are in another location. We'll talk about that later. So the DVE is on the air right now because I turned it on. I'll turn it off in the key. So again, your DVE is inside key number 1. So if you're going to use the DVE, you can't have a logo on the screen. You would have to bring the logo on in the downstream key, which is right here on the screen. And then you would be using your picture-in-picture by using your upstream key. So now I'm using my upstream key for a picture-in-picture, and I'm using my downstream key over there for the logo. And that's all I have, unless I have an extreme or extreme ISO, because I only have one upstream key and I only have one downstream key. And the upstream key will do all of those other features. It will do Luma, chroma, pattern, and DVE. The downstream key will not. It will only do pre-multiplied or not pre-multiplied, and you can put whatever different input on the screen. So if you wanted that DVE not to be a camera, I can go over here to the DVE, change from program view to my desktop, and now my desktop is actually on the screen and in the DVE. I can do camera 1 in the DVE, which is off right now. That's back on. It times out. It's a Canon 5D Mark III, and it times out. So now the desktop camera is on the screen in that DVE. I can go over here and change it to my HyperDeck. Now my HyperDeck is in that DVE. And again, because I can change where it's at on the screen, I can move it around the screen right here. I can also make it fly. If you remember, you can pre-multiply that. And you can also make it fly down here in the flying key. Now it's already on the screen, so you only can fly it to different locations. So let's say that's full screen right here, right? That's full screen. So that's the full screen view. I'm going to go up here and make it smaller. And I'm doing that right up here. And I'm going to go down here, scroll down to the bottom of the upstream key, DVE settings. I'm going to set A. And now I can fly to full screen, or I can fly back to the A location. And now let's create one more location. Let's make it B. Let's make it even smaller. Let's bring that clear to the right. And then I'm going to set down here, I'm going to set B. And now I can fly to full. I can fly to A. And again, I'm hitting these buttons right down here they're called run, run to B, run to A, run to full. And so picture-in-picture can be anywhere on the screen. So it makes what you're able to do in your control software so incredible. by using these keys. And again, you control those keys on and off the air right here. Now, there's one last thing I want to cover in the keys. So now I can bring that logo on the air, but what if I wanted it to follow this layout, right? This layout right there. So if I switch between those two cameras, it's going to go from my camera 3 to input number 3. So camera 1 to input number 3, I'm switching to, and you can see right now I'm doing a wipe. So I'll switch back over here to mix, and now I do a nice little transition instead of a wipe. What if I want to tie it to a certain input? So I have input 3 live up here on the top of my Atem control software. It's also red on the front of my Atem Mini Pro right here. See, it is, well, I changed it. So camera 1 now is live, which is this camera right here. It's red. And then the camera, my desktop, is green. And when I hit transition, they switch. So they're switching right here. But my logo is staying on all the time. It doesn't matter which camera I switch to, my logo stays live. Let me show you a trick that you can do with your upstream key and your downstream key. In your upstream key, you can tie it to whatever is live. So live camera right now is my desktop. So I'm going to tie it. It's on. I'm going to tie it to this live camera. Now watch what happens when I hit auto transition. Watch what happens to my logo when I switch to the other camera view. Now my logo's off because I told my upstream key to stay tied to that layer. So anytime that camera is live, I'll go live to it again, hitting the transition, my logo comes on. If I turn this key button off and then transition, now my logo stays live on either camera image. So let's turn upstream key off. Let's go to my downstream key, which we know is also my logo. Now, if I transition right now with that downstream key on, again, my logo stays on. It doesn't matter which camera I change to. But what happens if I hit tie up here? My upstream key now is off and my downstream key is off and my logo is not on the screen. But if I transition back, my logo comes on the air. And the reason that's happening, guys, is I'm tying it right here. So let's turn tie off. Now it's off. My upstream key is off. My downstream key is off. Let's turn my downstream key on. Now, what if I want to tie it to this view? I'm going to hit tie right here. And now when I hit auto transition, my logo is going to go off the air, the one that's in that box, which is my Atem control software. See, my logo's off. So I can use the tie button to tie my downstream key or my upstream key on air with whatever input I want it to. Let's do it again. My logo stays on regardless, right? I have it on in my downstream key. Now I'm going to tie it. So now I'm tying it to what's programmed right now, and that's in the far right box, and it will go off when I turn this box on. So let's go ahead and hit a transition. And now you can see the logo go off and on, off and on. Now, if I turn the logo off and leave tie on, now it's going to appear in this window right here. So I've tied it to that window. Watch what happens when I turn tie off. It's not tied to any window. So when it's on and I tie it, it ties to the program view. When it's off and I turn on tie, it ties to the preview view. So now if I do a transition, the logo follows my downward camera. So you can tie that, and not just tie that, you can tie Luma, Chroma, Pattern, and DVE, and they all are affected differently by using this tie button. So again, we'll turn that off. The last thing I wanted to cover to help you out is let's cut to full screen right here. We'll go up in here to the output menu, and in output, you can see that on the top section, I can choose YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Restream, Vimeo, and a streaming bridge, which is another product that Blackmagic Design created so that you could stream to a different place in your house hooked up to your network, or you could stream to another location if they had a streaming bridge by streaming from your Atem Mini Pro or your ISO. You cannot do this in a Atem Mini because the Atem Mini doesn't stream from within it. So, and currently, the Blackmagic Design Streaming Bridge is not compatible with any other software. Only Blackmagic Design Atem Mini Pro, Pro ISO, Extreme, Extreme ISO, and the web presenter, HD, is also capable of streaming to the streaming bridge. So again, once you choose the location, you're going to choose primary or secondary, and then you put your key here. That would be from your channel. They give you a streaming key, and then you copy that in there so that no one else can stream to your channel. Then you want to change to either streaming high, which is about a little over 6 megabytes a second, streaming medium, which is somewhere between high 4s and low 5s, and then streaming low, which is quite low. And again, the quality is lower. You do not want to use HyperDeck high, medium, or low. Those are mainly recording codecs. So if you're going to record and not stream only, and you want really good program quality recording, then you would choose those. If you were just going to do a video like I'm recording right now to my extreme ISO, but I'm not streaming at the same time, so I could actually record at a very, very high codec. And right now I am streaming, I'm recording at streaming high. I could have set it to even HyperDeck high if I wanted to, but I will have quality ISO files, so I could use those as well as I wanted to. So again, then you would not only choose quality, then you would go down here and click on display status or not, and that will display in your multi-view. And again, if we cut to this view right here, then that's your multi-view, and you would have that information on the screen as well as you streaming and recording. And you can see the streaming section there and the recording section. It's the second window over there for streaming, and then the third window over there is for recording. And if you had a hub, you could record to 2 different SD drives and it would automatically switch over. I only have one SSD plugged into my USB-C port, and that's what I'm recording to on my Extreme ISO. So you don't see me recording on this multi-view, but you would if I switched to my other multi-view. And also over here is the ability to hit on the air. So once you had everything set, you would hit on the air and you would go live, and you click off the air, and you can also do that from the front of your Atem Mini Pro. On the air button is right here on the top right, and off the air is right below it. And then record and stop is right there as well. And then you can turn your key on the air and off the air right here as well. And right now it's turning my DVE on and off the air. So you have the ability to do it, go live in the front of the Atem, record in the front of the Atem, and go off the air and stop recording, as well as in the software on this output screen. And then if you scroll down, then here is where you're going to record. You can create a file name and change the file name here. Then you can display the status. You could record in cameras. If you had a bunch of Blackmagic cameras and they were hooked up to your Atem, it would send a record signal to those cameras. I do not have Blackmagic cameras, so I can't demo that. And that's it. And then down on the bottom, you can capture still images. And again, in this camera section right here, I have my downward camera, my control software live. So if I hit capture still, it captures a still that's right here in 6. I can drop this in and I can show you that I just captured this still image right from capture still. And that capture still button again is right there on the bottom. So you just go into the media player button and hit capture still. And then you also have an option over here, but I can capture this still here as well. So I just captured that still. If I go in the media player and I drop that in, this one would look like this, bring that on the air. And so that's the still image I just captured, and it's a freeze frame of that same screen. And I'm moving my mouse around, it's not moving. Now I'll cut back to it live, and there's my mouse moving. So you can capture stills from both places. You can see what the time code is. You can change the time of day of the time code, the type of time code from time of day to free run. So that's all done there. So if you were feeding time code, this is how you would be able to adjust the time code inside your recording and your live stream. That's a layout of the Atem Mini Pro. We've hit just about everything. You also can go down the bottom left-hand side down here and go into settings. And in here is where you would set the frame rate that you want to record and stream from. And they're right here in the drop-down menu. and then you would click on done. You can do camera controls down here. I do not have Blackmagic cameras, so I'm not able to do camera controls here. And then if this was the actual Atem that had video clips, you would be able to have some settings here as well. The Atems do not offer that. The Extreme ISO do not offer that. So then you go into audio settings. Here's where you could change your inputs and be able to split them. You can also choose your mic inputs right here. Then you have general settings here, add transitions to audio when switching. You want to have line level or mic level. That's changed right here under the audio settings. So if you're bringing in audio directly from a audio device like a mixing console, you're going to set it to line input. And then if you're going to do microphones, you're going to do microphone. And then if you have microphone with plug-in power, you also have a plug-in normal power setting. And so those settings are right here. Then, right back here, you can go hard out cut when switching. So if you want to do a hard cut, you can switch it right here. And that would just make hard cuts when you're cutting from camera 1 to camera 2, camera 3. And you can add transitions to audio when switching, and that would be right here. And I leave it to that default. I leave it to line because I'm using a mixing console. And then I set mic to input to line, and now you can switch them independently. So one could be line, and then if I wanted to pull the lapel mic in line 2, which I will do eventually, I can do that now because I have the ability to change the settings. Then if you go into multi-view, here's your multi-view layout, so you can turn audio on or off in these channels. So if you have a HyperDeck and you want to see audio levels and it's coming into one of these channels, or you have a microphone on a camera and you want to make sure you have good audio levels, you can turn those audio levels on or off right here. Then you go into labels. I can change what camera 1, input 1, 2, 3, and 4 look like on my screen software. So right here on the right-hand side, I'd be able to change what it says, and you can see I already have. I have Canon 3 here, bridge / HyperDeck there. My PC and my multi-view right there, and my Apple TV is right there. And it's also, I'm able to bring in my program view there. That's why it's PRIP, program, PR, and IP for my Apple TV. So again, you can change the labels there. You can go into change outlet labels. You can go in here and change the name of your media players if you wanted to. Now in HyperDecks, you can hook up HyperDecks here, and that's for a different video. But if you did have a HyperDeck hooked up and it was hooked up to your network, same switch as your Atem, you would be able to hook them up, and then you can determine what input they are going in, what their IP address is, so you can automate them. And then the last screen would be remote controlling from a different device, like a console, a MIDI console. You could remote control the device. So that's what these settings are. And then you have file up here where you can hit save your current state. You can create a specific file for a show, which would save all the settings or some of them. So if I was to go in here and save as right now, it would just save the file or save. If I go up here to save as, and then I create a file like this untitled, it's going to ask me what features I want to save. And I can click these on or off and save everything, or just one specific thing I want to change. When I open up that folder, I'll hit cancel. Again, you have stream, so I could stream from here, start streaming. I could load stream settings from a file. If I wanted to load in like someone else's streaming bridge file they sent me, I could load that in here and go to stream to their streaming bridge. Then I have record right here, display status of recording all cameras. That'd be if I had Blackmagic cameras. Output, this gives me ability to change those outputs that are on the front of my Atem Mini Pro. So I'll show you those again. They're located right here where I can switch what is going out the program view. Right. This is crooked. Sorry about that. Got hit. Or I can switch them right here on this screen. So if I just wanted to show you my Canon camera right now, there you go. It's my Canon camera. I can go to my streaming bridge, which is my HyperDeck right now. I can go to my PC desktop. I can go to my iPhone, which is not hooked up right now. I disconnected my phone to take a phone call. Multi-view. I can go here to program out. And then I also have the ability to do a preview out. And that's just what's in my preview screen. So I could just bring my preview there. So I can see both the preview and the program view, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4, and my multi-view all through that matrix that's built in. And again, you do not have multi-view in an Atem Mini. You only have multi-view available in Atem Mini Pro and the Atem Mini Pro ISO. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing a new Atem. So let's go back to this other view. We better change the output to program, not preview. And so there you have the front of the Atem. I can switch over to my software. That's a good look at the software, good look at all the options. And then the last thing would be file, and that will tell you if you have the current software loaded and the right codec there as well. So also there is a setup screen, and we'll talk more of that in a later video, but that's how you run your Atem. That's how the keys work. There's just lots and lots of different things that you can do with an Atem Mini, Atem Mini Pro. And then when you get into the extreme and extreme ISOs, you add things like super source, multiple HDMI outs, multiple USB-C potential recording, and being able to have a USB-C going into your PC or Mac for a webcam. And the one thing we haven't shown you or demonstrated is how you can use your Atem Mini or Atem Mini Pro, Atem Mini Pro ISO as an input for your streaming to Zoom or meetings, whatever, right to your PC, or you could record to your PC using a software like OBS or some other software to record that USB-C output. So I'm Keith. This is a look at the Atem Mini Pro and how to run it. And I hope this video helps you get up and running with your Atem Mini, Atem Mini Pro, Atem Mini Pro ISO. I'll close with this. Remember, the Atem Mini does not encode, it does not have multi-view, and it doesn't stream. So you wouldn't be able to take advantage of a streaming bridge or recording. And then when you get the Atem Mini Pro, you can record and encode, and you can stream to a streaming bridge. You add multi-view. So those are great features. And if you bump yourself up to the Atem Mini Pro ISO, now you can record not only the program on a disc, you can record each of the channels, including what's in your media player, and it'll create an XML file that you can bring in DaVinci Resolve, and it'll have all your cuts, and you can actually use it to make cuts and make edits and make a change to your program after the fact by using DaVinci Resolve. Plus, it has the ability, if you're recording in all your Blackmagic cameras, you could replace the recording in the ISO tracks with the live raw video from your Blackmagic design cameras, which takes you up another level with your final edit. So you could be recording a program and streaming a program, but then later on, you could replace that program with the high resolution files from the Atem files to your Blackmagic camera raw files. And now you would have something that you could color correct and put on stream at up to 6K. If you had like a Blackmagic Design Cinema Camera 6 or 6K Pro, you would be able to replace that footage in that XML file with the raw files. And I think that's an amazing potential for owning those cameras and a ISO Atem. So I'm Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. That is a getting started with the Atem Mini Pro. There's some other features we'll cover in a later video, but I hope that gets you up and running. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.